said, when you're on a roll talking about books, it's hard to take a break and start a different day. So yes, I'm still sitting here, but we're in a different mindset now of what book we're talking about. And I still have my tea, but it's very empty and almost cold. But again, I don't have this actual book as a physical copy, so I have nothing to do with my hands. But let's get into it. This next book I'm going to talk about is called If He Had Been With Me. I'll put the author's name here because I don't remember it off the top of my head. This book I listened to as an audiobook on the Libby app, and it was another one my sister recommended. And they're definitely more like this one and Verity. I feel like even though I gave Verity a 9.5 out of 10, they're definitely more books that I feel are focused on like teenagers reading them. Well, I would say like especially this one I'm going to talk about, because if I had read this as a teenager, I would have just been obsessed with it. I feel like now that I'm adult, there were some parts that I was like, that was cringy, and also the ending was very not how I kind of unrealistic, but like as a teenager I would have been sold. One thing I will commend the author for, I'm sorry I don't remember her name, but like writing from the perspective of a teenage girl. I don't know, I haven't written from that perspective. I don't have any books I've written, but like I do write, and I haven't really written much as an adult, which I should do, but I don't know if I'd be able to like write so well from the perspective of a teenage girl, because I'm not a teenage girl anymore. But I don't know, at the same time, when I was reading that book, I was like, I remembered how I felt as a teenager. So maybe I could, but it was very well written as a teenage girl thinks about stuff. It was great. So that was how it was done, and it was done well, because yeah, like I was reading it and I was like, man, my teenage self would be able to not put this book down. My adult self, it was nice and like a nice easy read, which is what I enjoyed the most about it. Like I listened to it on the way to work and it was easy to just have that in the background. It's not very complicated, pretty straightforward book, so that was good. Sorry, I had to move my camera because it was overheating in the sunlight. Okay, so quick summary here. The main girl in the book, her name is Autumn. Her best friend from childhood up until middle school is named Finney, and he's a boy who lives next door. Their moms are best friends. And of course, when they get to middle school, things get awkward and they're not really friends anymore, and they find different friend groups to hang out with. But then she starts dating a boy in high school, and she just kind of starts thinking back to Finney and like, you know, having feelings for him and thinking about him lots, being very confused and conflicted, and just isn't quite sure what to do about those feelings, because she's a teenager and everything's crazy when you're a teenager. So it just kind of talks about like her going through like the probably I think like 15 to like 18, a couple years there where she just is going through her dating life with her boyfriend in high school, and then, you know, figuring out her feelings for her friend Finney. That's kind of all I can say without spoilers, I guess, but yeah, that's kind of how it goes. I would say I wouldn't really even recommend it unless you're wanting something that's like super casual and very cliche almost, for like a teenage love story because, yeah, like if you're a teenager, then absolutely read it because it's just got that like teenage drama of like boys and high school drama and friends and all that kind of stuff that isn't really like, it's not really like an adult book, you know? So that's all I would say about it that way. I'm gonna do a little bit more detail, so you know, this is gonna be spoilers. So Autumn, her and Finney are friends for like years up until about grade 7 or 8, and then they kind of go their separate ways because he kissed her one night and on New Year's, and she was like freaked out by it. She like thought that he was just like practicing and he didn't actually like her, and you know, all those conflicting middle school feelings. And then they date different people through high school, and they aren't really friends or anything in high school because they're different friend groups or polar opposite groups. Then the summer after high school, Autumn gets dumped by her boyfriend because he cheated on her with her friend. Of course, that always happens to high school girls in books. And so throughout the summer, her and Finney start hanging out more, and they basically spend every day together in the summer. He still is dating his girlfriend from high school named Sylvie, but she is in Europe for the summer after high school. And so they have lots of free time to hang out together, and you know, they really start reforming like their friendship. And of course Autumn is like, oh, I still like, you know, I don't know what I feel about him, and he doesn't like me that way, but maybe I like him like that, and you know, conflicted about what to do about it. And then basically just like nothing really happens until like the end of the summer, and it's like the day before Sylvie gets back from Europe. Autumn has written a book, and Finney has wanted to read it the whole time. She's been writing it, and finally she says, fine, just read it, even though like I don't want you to read it, but you're asking to read it all the time, so fine, it's done, you can just read it. And it kind of is like a parallel of their relationship, as if they were still friends the whole time, and then they fall in love and blah blah blah. So he reads it and he's like, oh my god, like I didn't know you still felt about me this way, like I thought you didn't like me at all. And she's like, well, I thought you didn't like me. And anyways, they share their feelings with each other and end up like sleeping together. And he's like, I'm planning to break up with Sylvie. Like he tells her this a while before this happens. He's like, I'm gonna break up with her, and when she comes back, she's like, oh, okay. Anyways, so the night before she gets back, he's like, oh my god, I didn't know you like liked me like that. And she's like, well, I didn't know you liked me like that. I was really confused when you kissed me in grade 8. And the next day he goes and or like the next night when Sylvie gets back from the airport and goes to her parents' house, he's like, hey, I'm gonna like go over there and break up with her. You know, I don't want to do it over the phone because we dated for 4 years and I still care about her, but I'm just not like in love with her anymore. And I know I need to like be with you and want to be with you and stuff. And so he goes, picks her up at her place. And of course, they get in a car accident because it's raining out. How it happens is they're driving, it's raining, it's a storm. They slip around or whatever on the road, and I think they hit a power line or hit something, and Sylvie flies out the windshield because she wasn't wearing her seatbelt. Finney runs out of the car and is like, oh my god. And then he kneels down beside her head, puts his hand in a puddle, and that puddle had like electrical current going to it because the power lines fell over from the storm, and he dies. And then that night that he goes to break up with her. So then Autumn is like, well, I'm out of here. So she goes to like attempt suicide. Her parents like save her and bring her to the hospital. She wakes up and she's like, oh my god, that didn't work. While she's in the hospital, she finds out she's pregnant, and she's like, okay, well, I can't do that now because I want to have this baby. And that's kind of how it ends. I don't know if you can tell by the way I'm talking about the end of that book. That was not my favorite ending. Number one, because like it's just so annoying. Like, if they had both been wearing their seatbelts, she wouldn't have flown out of the car and be fine. They'd both be alive. If he didn't like run out of the car to go see if she was hurt or touch that puddle or something. Like, there's so many different situations that the author could have written where he didn't die, which is annoying. And then also, like, the one thing that bothered me the most is in the springtime, her, like, after their graduation, her boyfriend comes over to her house and dumps her after he slept with her friend a couple weeks before that. So then it's like, well, now, Autumn, you're doing the exact same thing to some other girl. Like, you know, Sylvie comes back, her boyfriend's dumping her because her boyfriend's been sleeping with Autumn. Like, only one time, but like, either way. So, you know, you kind of don't really feel that bad for Autumn when she gets dumped after you read the rest of the book, because you're like, well, she did the exact same thing, even if like Sylvie's like kind of like a preppy mean girl or whatever. You know, it's like, you were just dumped for the same reason. You'd think you'd have a little bit more empathy towards somebody else, even if you're like meant to be together. Anyways, that was just like, okay. But also, that's why it's like how I was saying, it's like the perspective of a teenage girl, because teenage girls are stupid and don't think things through. And, you know, not teenage boys are also stupid. You know, teenagers are stupid with things like that. So then, again, I've probably said this the last like 3 or 4 videos. I don't know. I know I just said it once before when I was just filming because I'm wearing the same outfit, but like, of course, they like sleep together one time, and all of a sudden she's like, oh, I'm pregnant by surprise. And the author uses that as like the catalyst for the rest of the story. And I'm just sick of it. So I need to just not be into like reading those books. And I didn't think it'd be a book like that. Well, this one kind of whatever. It was just like a casual read. But the other ones I read, I was like, oh, come on. I guess like this book, it like gives her a reason to live. I'm not saying this would be a better ending, but sometimes like worse endings are a bit more realistic. You know what I mean? I'm just sick of that trope, I guess. It's the really thing that made me not like the end of that book. But again, if I was a teenage girl, I would have like loved this book. So I guess that is who the audience is for. So I'm not even gonna give this a rating, because adult me is not gonna rate it very good. Teenager me though probably would have been like, I need this book, and given it like a 10 or something because it's so dramatic. There is a second book that is like from the guy's perspective for most of it, and I didn't read it except for like the last chapter, and like it was the audiobook version, so I just skipped ahead to like the last chapter from his perspective. And yeah, it just like talks about them like him and Sylvie getting in a fight, and then like trying to break up with her, and she's like mad because she like knows he's been hanging with Autumn all summer because her friends have told her. And yeah, so the end, he obviously still dies in his own perspective, and then it kind of talks a bit more about like Autumn, and I think eventually she does go to school to be a writer with the baby. I didn't really listen to more than like 5 minutes total of that whole entire book, just like the conclusion parts, because it wasn't that good of a book that I wanted to like hear a different perspective of the same story. But anyways, if you're a teenage girl, you probably like this book. If you didn't, well, join the club, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, that's kind of all I have for today. I'll probably be in a different outfit when I get around to doing my next video, because I'm all talked out about books for right now, I guess. So please come back and watch the next one when it comes out. I'm trying to do them weekly. It's just I gotta do some more reading in my free time because it's hard to read all these books. And yeah, see you next time. Bye.